Well, good morning, everybody. As I said, my name is Matt Reedy. I'm the incident commander here. And I just want to first of all thank all the initial attack firefighters that were here from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, tribal firefighters from the White Mountain Apache tribe, and also from the Forest Service. They did an excellent job on the initial attack on this fire. They gave us a really good ground hold for us to build on, and we're building on success that they've already started. We're following a strategy that gives us the greatest probability of success. And what we're doing is we're utilizing a lot of the ponderosa pine restoration treatments that the forest has used and been implementing for the last 10 years here on the Apache sitgraves. And those pine restoration treatments are allowing us to get firefighters close to the fire. The fire has been in the canopies of the trees in the afternoons, and as you can see behind me right now, the fire this early in the morning is at a lower intensity, and that's the exact same thing that happens, that when the fire runs and reaches those pine restoration treatments, it lowers onto the ground, the intensity drops, and it gives the firefighters the opportunity to aggressively fight fire and do it very safely. We're also utilizing roads as control features here, and we're burning off those roads with the hotshot crews, and then we've got other firefighters and engines that are supporting the hotshot crews and trying to hold that fire on those roads. We've been utilizing aerial resources such as large air tankers and heli-tankers, and they've been very successful in many places on the fire. We're looking forward to another successful day today, and the weather is going to be cooperating with us just a little bit, but we're looking forward to another great day, and if you have any quick questions, I'd be happy to take them.
What are the winds like right now? I know we've been here since this morning, and we're starting to see that smoke kind of go north a little bit. Do you have any numbers on what the wind is like in that area?
The wind right now is variable, and it's less than 5 miles an hour. As the heating of the day increases, we're expecting to see those winds increase, but we're not expected to see the winds that we've had here for the last 4 or 5 days. So that's gonna benefit the firefighters.
Just at 5 miles per hour in that area?
Up on the mountain right now, yes.
We saw slurry drops late into the evening last night. How much work were they able to do on the mountain?
The aerial resources that we have, the large air tankers and the heavy heli-tankers, they were able to work with the firefighters, and we always use those resources when we have boots on the ground, and they were extremely successful. They were doing a burnout operation on the east flank of the fire, and those resources were critical in holding that fire along that burnout operation. So we're going to continue to use those today.
At this point, what communities are still threatened?
We still have 3 subdivisions that are still threatened, and Bill is going to give you a list of the number of houses and structures. They're still evacuated, and we've been working with the Sheriff's Department, and they've just done an excellent job in assisting us.
At this point, does it look like there will be any more evacuations?
We're not anticipating right now, but we're also asking people to always be prepared in the event that we do ask for a pre-evacuation or an evacuation.
And then, any injuries to the firefighters?
We have no injuries to firefighters yet.
Any estimated costs so far?
No estimated cost as yet. We're only 3 days into it.
It's our understanding that this was, or the latest information on INSWEP, that it was human caused. Do you have any idea of how the fire started yet?
Currently, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the tribe, and the Forest Service is working cooperatively to do a human-caused fire investigation. They're working through that investigation right now, and they haven't released any results yet.
Do you have any containment numbers as of today?
We have 0% containment, and we generally don't list containment until we have fire line established, where firefighters, boots on the ground, and also where the control of that fire has been extinguished to the point where we feel comfortable with where it's at.
Can you describe where the bulk of your efforts will be today?
The bulk of the efforts today are going to be on the east and the west flanks of the fire, where we're going to continue to build fire line and burn out along those fire lines, downhill until we reach those pine treatment areas that I talked about. That's where we've seen the greatest success.
Have you determined a point of origin where the fire started?
The fire investigators have determined a point of origin. They're now just trying to determine the cause of that.
And is it too early to talk about the structural damage? I know there were 90 structures. I mean, not if there was damage, but then I know those were in the area that was affected. There were 90 structures there. Do we know what the damage is like yet?
None of those 90 structures have been impacted by this fire. Okay. Firefighters have been successful to keep the fire away from those structures.
Can you talk about what led to the fire jumping the east and west flanks yesterday?
Yesterday afternoon, we had firefighters on the east and west flanks. They had put in some fire lines. The winds increased, and as those winds increased, we got spot fires across those control lines. Firefighters had to fall back, abandon those fire lines, and reestablish new ones. And that's why when you ask me about the containment line, percent containment, we don't consider a line contained until we can actually control all the fire spread and it's safe and it's mopped up.
How far has the fire gotten from the evacuation areas?
Oh, we're still quite a ways from the evacuation areas. Yeah.
Do you have a new acreage estimate this morning?
You know, we did receive an infrared flight last night, and I'll let Bill go ahead and talk about the acres figures and all the engines and whatnot, hotshot crews.
Anything else we need to know or that you think is important for viewers?
I think it's really important for people to understand that this is really a critical time in the summer for us. This is the driest, it's the warmest, and as people are going out and enjoying the national forest, I know many national forests have fire restrictions in effect, that they be very, very careful, whether it's national forest, state lands, or even county lands, that they're very, very careful with fire. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Just give you some other information and updates if I can. We had a good night last night. The winds died down, things settled. We didn't really get any measurable growth within the fire last night. The weather is cooperating along with us. We're able to get an early start on things this morning. You see crews all heading out, getting onto those lines. As the incident commander explained, our biggest emphasis here is going to be on the east and west flanks, trying to control all of that. This evening, there will be a community meeting at the Vernon Fire Station #1 in the town of Vernon at 6 p.m. We have established a media-only contact line for any media partners. We have several members that it'll ring onto each of their individual phones. That number is 623-738-6480. For public information lines, any of the public will have people manning phones starting already this morning. That number is 928-537-8420. There is a second line, 928-532-0031. Other things of notice is we'll have a visit from Andy Tobin, the Speaker of the House, will be here today, checking out the ICP and meeting with the command and general staff of the fire. We're still currently at 5,000 acres. That's what we were reporting last night, and it hasn't grown, like I said, because things were laying down during the night and we were able to make a little more headway. Again, the weather's looking a little better today. It seems each day it's dropping about 10 miles an hour with those winds. We were getting 40-mile-an-hour gusts 2 days ago, 30 yesterday. Now we're talking 10-mile-an-hour winds today with gusts at 20, 25. Still real substantial. The bad side of that is it's getting warmer and drier. It's only about 78 degrees for a high up around the fire area today, but it could be up into the 90s within the next couple of days. It's getting drier. 17% humidity today. The fuels, you know, the grass, the brush, the trees, we're talking 5% humidity. Kiln-dried wood's usually 7 to 8%. Everything's ready to burn. We don't have the real hard winds, but it's hotter, it's drier. We're looking at spot fires. We're looking at a lot of other issues. And 25-mile-an-hour winds, you know, that's still pushing up in a red flag. And looking down the road a little bit, by Tuesday, Wednesday, we're looking at a lot of potential for dry lightning storms. As the monsoon pattern starts beginning to kick in, we should be getting some cloud cover and isolated thunderstorms. And thunderstorms cause downdrafts, cause erratic fire behavior. So again, big safety concerns for us looking down the road, but it's Saturday, you know, and today looks like we're gonna have a good day. We've got a lot more resources here going out onto the fire. At this point, we have 13 hand crews, hotshot crews and type 2 crews on the fire. I have 24 engines out here on the fire. Just started to check my notes, but we have 4 water tenders, 3 dozers, a total of 502 personnel working on the San Juan Fire this morning. We have every air tanker from the southwest area, not to mention a fire that started over in New Mexico, working on this scene. We never get a count of the number of air tankers because they're just rotating through, they're flying. But we do still have 3 type 1 heavy helicopters. Those are the ones that'll drop 2,000 gallons of water at a time. 1 medium and 1 light helicopter. As far as anything else here, total of 25 people have been evacuated from the 3 neighborhoods that we talked about. So there's a total of 90 structures. 12 of those are actual residences, and the rest are other type of buildings. Essentially, you know, yesterday while we're looking at Google Earth, looking at the maps, they're counting buildings. So we had a total of 90 buildings, but 12 actual residents, full-time residents. Some of those other buildings could be part-time residents. It's hard to get those sort of numbers for you, anything. So that's about the biggest thing that I've got going for you right now. Questions? What are we missing? What else can we get at?
So everyone has been evacuated in those areas?
Those areas are all completely evacuated, being told.
And then I know, are there areas that are on, I guess, pre-evacuation?
There are 2 areas that are still on pre-evacuation. That was the Greens Peak area and Hidden Meadows. That hasn't changed. Those pre-evacuations are well out ahead from the fire. That's all looking big box picture down the road. If we have conditions really change, we like to stay ahead of that time. We don't like to be surprised or surprise anybody else. So, you know, confidence at the moment, it's pretty good about those areas. And as the incident commander stated, the evacuated areas, the fire is not near those, but the potential exists. And again, we've evacuated those just for the public's safety.
I know it's pretty early, but because we're going to get asked, people who have had to leave, any ETA of when they might be able to get back in?
At this point, the fire's still kind of driving the show here. You know, for the last couple of days, the wind, the weather, this thing's blown up each day. We went from 1,500 acres to 5,000 just yesterday. We're nowhere close to thinking about letting folks back into those evacuated areas until we feel we get a hand on it. And really that comes down to having solid containment lines between the fire and those evacuated areas. So at this point, there's still the Red Cross has the evacuation center at the Round Valley School open and eager. Nobody was staying there yet. Talked with Red Cross this morning. They don't have any occupants, which is a good thing. People all have a good place to go. They got family somewhere else. It's a nice time of year. I don't know. Folks aren't there, but they're not at the evac center either, so it's good.
You mentioned the community meeting. What would be the trigger point for pre-evacuation notices to be distributed here in Vernon? And can you talk about what conditions might lead to the fire possibly heading this way?
Absolutely. Matt brought up a real good question as far as trigger points. And when we take a look at where the San Juan Fire is, we also have mapped out potential growth and directions of where it could go. And contingency plan A, B, C, all the way up through the alphabet. When fires reach up to a certain point, it hits what we would call a trigger point, where it got up to a line. I can't tell you out of my head the number of all the different Forest Service roads and where it crosses, but essentially common sense says when a fire starts moving in a certain direction and gets up to a certain spot, we will draw a line in the sand, let's say off of a road, where we can improve our fire lines, do burnouts off of that road. If a fire were to jump across those containment lines, those spots, the line in the sand, those are trigger points for us where we start getting people evacuated out. And the point is well ahead of time, well before they have to get out and scramble. We don't want to repeat the Berkeley situations in the past where you see fire trucks rushing in and people rushing out of one-lane roads and causes havoc, and it's unsafe, dangerous situations. So we don't gamble with that kind of stuff. We try to get way out ahead of it.
The wind compared to yesterday and today is kind of night and day. How's that going to help you guys today? What's it going to look like later on today?
The wind drives these fires. This time of year, we know there's a lot of fuel. We know that it's dry. We know all the constants. What changes is the weather. And the thing that's been driving this fire and a lot of fires this time of year is that high wind. It's gone down each day. This This morning the winds are down low. We're talking 5 miles an hour. Actually kind of variable. It's drifting around a little bit here and there. As we all know, the winds kick up in the afternoon though, right? So we're expecting 20 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour winds this afternoon. That's substantial wind. It's going to push the San Juan Fire. It's going to move today. But is it going to get across our lines? That's the battle. That's what we're trying to hold. We're going to get people out there in safe spots and try to keep it within those lines by the afternoon when things really kick in. Our air resources will get up off the ground at 9 o'clock this morning for all the helicopters will be up flying, and then 10 o'clock for the air tankers when we'll start getting. Last night we saw a lot of those VLATs, the very large air tankers, the DC-10s coming in, laying 11,000 gallons of retardant after those winds settled down towards sunset, you know, where it still had good light and it was safe to fly, but it wasn't just blowing it all away with 30 mile an hour gusts. So we got really good containment lines last night. You're going to see a lot of that activity up in the air this morning, but we have to remember that that only supports the ground operations. The boots on the ground have to actually put the fire out. We have to build that fire line. Those slurry drops really just make it safer. They slow things down. They make it more tenable, safer for our firefighters. So it's a coordinated effort with all that. The crews are out there, and the planes and the helicopters are coming. We have a battle plan, and we're ready to put it to work today. It feels good to take over the fire now. The local folks between the Fort Apache tribe and the Apache Sitgrave National Forest, the BIA, have done really a spectacular job. But those local resources are stretched now. It's been 48 hours. These folks have been out there 24/7 for a couple, 3 days. They deserve a rest. A lot of the local resources are able to go home, get a little sleep, get some food. We've brought other folks in, and we're able to assist the great start that they've got going. They didn't just leave us with nothing. They did a wonderful job. We're just going to continue the efforts that have been done for the last couple of days, and you know, it feels pretty good. Things are going well. I think we're on the right path today.
For those of us that are local, what kind of a story does the smoke tell? In the afternoon, we notice big plumes. Is that a story about the wind, or is that a story about the fire?
That's a really good point when you just brought up as far as what kind of story does the smoke tell. At night, the winds tend to slow down, the ground cools, and the winds go down canyon. They see it reverse. They'll actually move back to the south here over the evening, laying down low. As the ground heats up, that lifts, and that heats up the fuels and everything as well. It starts burning hotter, starts moving faster. The wind kicks into that and starts pushing it. You can tell a lot of what's going on by a fire simply by looking at the smoke. Any of that's been around a fire at night, it comes right down into town, it lays down low, it's irritable, it's a mess. During the day it lifts, you see it, and then it gets bigger. Through the afternoon, the last couple of days, we've seen really huge plumes of smoke because we're devouring a lot of fuel. When we get into those untreated areas, we're getting 100-foot flame lakes coming off the top of that mixed conifer and ponderosa pines. As it gets down into the treated area, it's not going to throw out as much smoke because we're not having as much fire. So you see it turn a little whiter and not put out as much. But when we see those big plumes of black smoke, that means we're burning, you know, and that's the heads up for everybody.
Along that same lines, is there any health concerns, health notices?
This is a real good point, Ron. I don't have a number for air quality stuff. Let's see if Bob's looking in his notebook right now. But again, as we've taken over, those are some of the things that we'll get out right away is air quality phone numbers where people can call and find out what's going on and where they can get out of it and stuff. But I don't have that for you right now. We're doing good. So you got the numbers, you got the stuff. That's basically what's going on today. We're going to shoot for 7 o'clock every morning with the incident commander. As soon as the plotters are all set up, I'll be able to have a large map and boards being built out here so they'll have something to talk to and give a reference. It helps a whole lot. In the meantime, we have about 20 maps, of small ones, 11 by 17, that we can hand out. At least you guys can use those and try to put them into perspective. But we're going to continue to grow this stuff. So let's just plan on 0700, 7 o'clock every morning with the incident commander. And then the next real event going on today is that community meeting at 1800, 6 o'clock tonight. And then we're available to do interviews, whatever we can help you guys with throughout the day. You've got that media number, so now we can talk a little bit.
Hello, Ron Everingham here with iTalk 106.7 and City 4 TV. I'm here with Bob Dyson, who is a public information officer, and we just got some really good information. Bob, maybe you could just give us a recap on the heavy equipment that's on this fire.
Well, we have all kinds of inventory, I call it. We have 14 crews, hand crews. Half a dozen of those are hotshot crews that are doing a yeoman's work out stopping this fire during some burnouts. We have a lot of engines, 20-some engines here now, and people are coming in all the time. The next couple of days we'll get a lot of more people and resources in. We have a lot of aerial resources that are standing by. Today should have a little bit less wind, and we might, if we need them, be able to use both the helicopters and the fixed-wing aircraft, perhaps more effective than we did the last couple of days. So we're kind of anticipating a good working day and that we can really get some things done today, we hope.
Now, Bob, you're local. We're both from around here. For those folks who see the smoke, they see it in their backyards, so to speak. What kind of a story does that tell? Does it necessarily mean that the fire is getting worse, or is it just more of a story of the fire conditions?
Well, a bit of both, and that when you see various colors of smoke, it will tell a story. And that also relates back to the wind and the humidities, the time of day. So at night, we all see the smoke laying down. There's not as much of a column. That's the earth cooling things off. The smoke will actually lay down on the ground, and then it's at the discretion of the wind where it takes it. Last night, as an example, instead of blowing to the north-northeast from this fire, it went to the south-southeast. That means people in, say, the Big Lake area, all of a sudden we're seeing some smoke that they hadn't seen before. So people in Pinetop Lakeside, still, they're fortunate, they're upwind of this event. If you see a really dark column, that usually indicates it's burning heavy fuels and burning very hot. And usually that happens in the afternoon. When that happens in the evening or the first in the morning, we know we have some trouble ahead of us. But the last 2 days, it's burned hot in the afternoon. You can expect right around 11 o'clock, 12 noon, that this smoke will start boiling again, and it will for the next few days.
Okay, for those of us who, again, live here year-round, we're familiar with control burns. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the control burns that happened on the Fort Apache Indian Reservation and what happens in the Sitgreaves Forest and what that does for fires like this?
Sure. Well, this fire is on the top, on the top of a mountain, if you will, backing down to on a north slope, which is in a very, we call it mixed conifer trees, very thick forest. It burns either lightly or very heavily, I'll put it that way. Right now it's burning kind of a moderate slope, and it's burning down into the pine type. And what that does is cool the fire down a little bit, and it burns into areas that we tend to burn over time using prescribed burns. And so we're somewhat optimistic in that it's burning towards both a fuel treatment area that's been thinned out, forest been thinned, but also it's been burned. And that's a remarkably good news for us from firefighting standpoint, is that we have a place to stop this fire. So if the wind should surprise us, come out of a different direction, start to blow a gale, we know where we have some defensible space. So that's what the crews are working on today, take advantage of that work and the prescribed burns that have been done out here before.
Okay, as far as just clearing the air from some of the things that we see maybe in social media, any concerns about monsoons switching the direction of this fire, winds coming from any other way, the people of Pinetop Lakeside, Show Low, any concerns within the meetings that you've been a part of anything shifting?
Well, there's no talk of the wind shifting. However, having said that, when you get a monsoon season, what you get is strong, drafty winds, and potentially the wind could draw the fire in any direction. We know that, and that's why we're trying to kind of button up the sides of this fire right now. Should that happen, we'll be in a better defensible position. If we don't do that, then we have perhaps more concern.
Okay, thanks, Bob. And just for those of you who are tuning in, they did give out a public information line, 928-537-6480. So if anybody should have questions, you can give that line a call. Again, that's 928-537-8420. Well, thank you for your time, and thanks for all you do.